Hello everyone. Welcome to the interview with Sukhtankar family. We all have heard about spelling bee competition, oldest and most iconic spelling competition. The fascinating fact about this year's bee is instead of a single winner, we had 8 winners, the Octochamps. And recently, Octochamps have also been nominated for Time's Person of the Year award. Now, if you know, this award is given to people who have done the most to influence events of the year. And we are very lucky to have one of the Octochamps with us today, Sohum Sukhtankar, and his parents, Gargi and Mandar. Welcome everyone, and congratulations to all of you. So let's start with the interview. The first question is for the star, Sohum. So Soham, we know that you know the entire dictionary, right? But let's just, for our audience, go through how did you develop interest in spelling? So where did it all begin?
Um, I'd like to first thank all of my teachers because all of my teachers helped me along my journey. So in second grade, our second grade spelling teacher would teach us. She would give us lists of. She would let us make lists of spelling words, 10 words every week, and we would have a classmate test us on those words. So I chose the longest words I could find, and I think that's where my interest for spelling started.
I see. Okay. So, and how old were you that time?
I was 8.
8. Okay, I see. Excellent. So this question is for Mandar. So Mandar, I know that for this kind of competition, kids have to take efforts as well as parents have to take efforts as well. So can you tell us what kind of efforts Soham had to take and how did you support as parents?
Sure. So before I get into the actual details, right, I'll just say that our philosophy in raising Soham has always been more about exposing him to um, different areas and then seeing what appeals to him. So we tried different things when Soham was young. And we continue to do that. And spelling was just one of those things that stuck with him. It's not something that we chose for him. And when we saw that passion develop in Soham, that's when we started to encourage it more and more. So it was really our philosophy. Our philosophy was really that it's important for someone to be passionate about something, and then automatically the hard work that's needed to really be good at something will come automatically, versus us trying to force him into going down a path that he was not interested in. And once we identified that he was passionate about spelling, then I think the next step that we did was to help him with the resources, help him find uh, avenues where he could further improve his skill and continue to be better at it. And as with everything, right, you're not going to get to be an expert on day one. You have to continue to work hard at it. And of course, this is where the fact that we found something that he was interested in genuinely helped immensely. And of course, we encourage him to put in the time. And as parents, it's also important for us to uh, show kids through our own actions what's the right thing to do. When we asked him to sacrifice time and not watch TV and instead study for the spelling bee competition that was coming about, we ourselves did the same thing. So I would sit next to him and he would do his words. I would do work from my office. It wasn't me just watching TV and him studying, because that doesn't work either. And just from a pure numbers perspective, right, he used to put in anywhere between a couple of hours every day during the off season, uh, after finishing up his school homework, put in probably 2-3 hours on every day of the weekend. Towards the tail end, when he was really vying for the championship, he put in probably 3 hours, 3 to 4 hours every day, depending on how much homework he had during the school days. And on every day of the weekend, he was probably putting in 10 to 12 hours every day of the weekend. So it's a significant time commitment, and I'm glad it worked out the way it did.
Excellent. So a lot of efforts from parents as well as from Soham. The whole family took efforts together.
Yes.
Okay. So Gargi, this question is for you. So we all watch this competition live, and one thing that we noticed is when kids have to go through this competition, it's a lot of pressure on them, right? But everybody who watched this competition, they noticed that Soham was very different. He was very calm and composed throughout the competition. So how was he able to achieve this?
So we have been exposed to Jeevanvidya training like ever since, I was actually introduced to it by my grandfather. And Jeevanvidya is a philosophy that was created by Mr. Vamanrao Pai. And I was introduced to this and I started using it more frequently during my pregnancy. So I found it very useful for my own, daily living in all areas of my day. And I thought that it would be really useful for kids. So I introduced it to Soham, and Soham has been attending the Jeevan Vidya character building classes. So they teach specific strategies to help you stay positive in any situation. And one of the strategies that, I think Soham will talk more about this, but the strategies that Jeevan Vidya has taught us, that's what we've been using, including Soham. And I think that was the reason why he was able to stay calm on stage.
I see. Okay. And I'm very curious to know more about that, but let's talk about that later. So, Soham, so do you also use these strategies and what you learned in character building classes, and how do you find them useful in your bee journey?
Yes, actually, while I was on stage, I would say the super positive affirmation while walking to the mic and while coming back from the mic. And I think it helped me really stay calm.
So that's one of the strategy that you learned in character building classes.
Yes.
I
Jeevan
see.
Vidya character building classes, yeah.
Okay. And do you have any favorite strategies, Soham?
Yes.
Or is there anything that you use more often?
The strategy I just mentioned is the one I used a lot at spelling bees. So yeah, that was really useful.
Okay, I see. Okay, that's great. So this question is for Mandar. So Mandar, once these kids were declared as Octo champs, we saw that they get a lot of popularity, glamour. But when they are going through this process, were there any setbacks? And if there were, then how was Soham able to come out of those setbacks?
Sure. So spelling bee competitions, right, are known to be very unforgiving, particularly because you need to have a high level of perfection throughout. You're a single, alphabet wrong here or there, and then you're basically out of the competition. So you could either trip up during your class B, school B, county B, regionals, and then of course at the nationals as well. So from that perspective, you need to have a lot of effort put in behind the scenes, and there is a lot more than just effort that's required. And one example of this is when Soham was initially starting out, he had studied a little bit for his county B, but he hadn't really risen to the level of a serious competitor. But whatever practice he had done, he was probably going to do well. When he got up on stage that night, the word that was given to him was animal, and he knew the word, but he started spelling it out as A, and then he spelled the rest of the word correctly. And the rules of the competition are such that if once you utter a letter, you can't take it back. You can't go back on it. And he was disqualified, eliminated from the competition because of that. And that was a real eye opener for us. He came back, he was very disappointed, he knew the word, but I think being on stage in that moment in front of the entire crowd, that was just not something that he had prepared for. And so, we took it as a learning experience. We didn't immediately push him to, go up and start studying the next day or the next week even. We let it sit for, 2 or 3 weeks, and then we asked him if this was something that he was still genuinely interested in pursuing. And, he said he was, and, he didn't let that one setback, affect him. So we talked about what we could do to improve it in the future so that he can get better at it. And then similarly in the future, competitions, right? Where he obviously did well at the county level, but at the regional levels there were some issues. National level, obviously, you were competing with so many the brilliant kids. There were times when he didn't get success right out of the gate, but every time we went back and we looked at it as a learning experience. And I think that's the central theme that I've always asked someone to keep in mind, both Dagi and I, which is that always look at it as you are going to benefit from the hard work that you put in. The work that you put in is never going to go to waste. And I think that holds true even today for Soham, right? When he studies Latin at school, when he goes for his quiz bowl competitions, when there are instances where he has to draw knowledge from all the workers he's accumulated in his geography class or from his history books or Greek mythology. All of that is coming in very handy to him even today. So, having an attitude of not letting the setback be the end state that you want to reside in, and looking at failures as the stepping stones to to success is what we try to inculcate in him.
I see. Okay, that's excellent. So the next question is for Gargi. Gargi, you mentioned about Jeevanvidya strategies. So can you tell us more about some of the strategies that might have helped you, Soham, during this bee journey?
So the one that Soham mentioned, super positive affirmations, is something that he used, like he said, and then I used that as well. The super positive affirmations are, basically affirmations for all: healthy life for all, happy life for all, peaceful life for all, successful life for all, safe life for all. And what that does is it, uh, especially in a competitive situation, it instead of having any negative or feelings of anxiety towards your competitors, it keeps you in it helps you connect with them on a positive level, so you feel like everyone should be successful. And I know that sounds really unrealistic for somebody who's not practiced it. Like, how can you think
Right.
you know well for your competitors? But it's a practice, and if you continue to focus on that affirmation over and over, you realize that your success lies in the success of everyone. And that is exactly what the outcome of the bee was. A lot of the competitive, something very unrealistic happened, that the 8 champions won. And I feel like it was an answer to this affirmation, which was done over and over: help a successful life for all. So that's a strategy that helps you develop an attitude of how you can focus on the well-being of everyone, how to create a win-win situation in your life, no matter what situation you're in. And that's the attitude that this affirmation creates, this mindset. And so that's something that we used, Soham and I and us as a family. And the other strategy we used was the well-wishing strategy, which is similar to the super positive affirmation, but you do it for individuals. So every time, I went into the competition, or I saw other kids, I used to wish them success in my head. And you do this in your head. You don't go out and tell them. You do it in.
Right.
And
Okay.
I used to say that for them. Even when I got the bee books, Soham's bee books with the pictures of the kids, I still do it for those kids in the bee book, which made me feel like I want all of them to succeed. I want all of them to be successful. And I think Soham had that attitude too, because if you look in the last part of the bee, they were all cheering for each other, all the kids.
Right. Yes.
So that's an attitude that comes with this practice. The other strategy that Jeevan Vidya emphasizes is gratitude. So every day I write a gratitude journal, and in that for the last every year, I mean, since till Soham won the bee, I used to write, "Thank you so much for Soham being the 2019 Scripps National Spelling Bee champion." And the other strategy that I used was a vision board that was actually created by Mr. Prahlad Vamanrao. So he is Sadhguru Vamanrao-Pai's son. He's our mentor and spiritual guide, our Jeevan Vidya guide or coach. And he created that vision board, that Soham Sukhtankar 2019 Spelling Bee champion. And we used to look at it as a family. There was one in Soham's room, one in Mandar's office, one in my journal, gratitude journal. And we used to look at it every day So that goes in our subconscious mind, whatever we focus on, and it becomes our reality. So those were the three main strategies that we used that helped this, us get this result or this outcome.
Right. Okay. So that basically highlights all the strategies that you guys, as a collective visualization, gratitude, and a lot of strategies you mentioned, Gargi.
Yes.
So these are all the collective efforts that the whole family did beyond the efforts that the Soham might have done, right? So Soham, coming back to you, and let's talk a little bit about time management. I know kids of your age have so many things to do: classwork, homework, extracurricular activities. And how did you contribute time for B when you have so many other things to do?
So yeah, at first it was a bit of a challenge to get my time managed well, but
Mhm.
since spelling was extracurricular, I made sure that my homework was a priority. So every day, as soon as I could, I would finish my homework and then I would start studying spelling. And I would also try to make sure to get a decent amount of sleep.
I see. Okay, so you had very disciplined approach towards managing time.
Yes.
Oh, okay, got it. So next question is for Mandar. So Mandar, going back a little bit to what Gargi mentioned, she was talking about winning of all the contestants, and she was wishing for everybody's success, and Soham was wishing for everybody's success. So this is something that we all noticed even during Soham's interviews, that when there were 8 contestants left, and Soham was asked about how does he feel about it, he mentioned that he sincerely wanted all of them to win. And I think this is phenomenal. I mean, at this age, having that big of a thinking is a great achievement in itself. So can you tell us a little bit about how was he able to develop this kind of thinking?
So I think it really stems more from us having, told Soham that, you're doing this um, spelling bee work for the purpose of improving yourself. You're not really competing with other people. You're doing it so that you yourself end up becoming a better speller, getting better exposure to a wide variety of different areas, like I mentioned before, right? And our whole philosophy has been that you look at it as a learning journey, not necessarily something that has to end in an outcome of you winning something. You shouldn't look at it as, if I don't win the competition, then it's a total loss, right? And you should also not look at it from the perspective of all these people are there, are my competitors, and they are, it's either me or them, right? We've always told Soham to uh, look at it as a positive, regardless of whatever the outcome might be, and not to really pay attention to what other people are doing or what other people are saying. There were a lot of people who used to stack rank, the participants, making predictions about who would win, and that just resulted in you either getting a big head or losing confidence, and neither of them are good, situations to be in. So, and I think there was, I'm happy to say, a lot of camaraderie that existed between Soham and all of the other kids. You would have seen when when the participants walked up to the mic, there were people who were cheering them on. Even people who were not in the evening finals from on the other side of the stage were cheering on the spellers. People who are still part of the evening finalists were giving each other high fives when they were getting their words right. And I think that whole community is more focused around everybody wanting to do really well, because they're not really competing against each other. They're really competing against the dictionary and trying to make themselves better at it. And that's one of the reasons why we were so drawn to the spelling bee. And I think that's also one of the reasons why Soham did well. It really helped bolster his thinking about how to approach a problem and not look at everything as a win-lose situation.
Okay, excellent. Right. And
And there's one more thing that Soham said to me recently. Soham, do you want to say it or do you want me to say it about the no expectation? Yeah.
So towards the end, I think what helped me is in the past 2 years, in 2017 and 2018, when I made it, both times I had lost in the semifinals. So this year when I cleared the semifinals, I felt really happy and I had no expectations for the evening finals. So I think that may have also played a part in me winning.
Right.
So also something that the strategies, the Jeevan Vidya strategies help you to build that attitude of no expectations. You do your best. You
Mm-hmm.
have a super positive attitude in your mind or mindset, and then you don't have any expectations or any pressure of, like Mandar said, winning or losing. You've done your best. You enjoy the journey as you are learning, and that itself is the reward rather than waiting for a trophy.
Right. Okay, excellent. And basically, it's you're doing your efforts and then having faith in the outcome that it's going to be best because you have done your best. Okay, excellent. So, Gargi, you also mentioned about a lot of strategies throughout this interview. So, if someone wants to start fresh, are there any resources or courses that they can attend?
Yes, actually, Jeevan Vidya Center is, the nonprofit organization here, and which has trained us throughout the spelling bee journey and also throughout our other areas of life. So you can contact Jeevan Vidya Center,
Mm-hmm.
and they have a lot of teleconferences for kids. They have a lot of classes for adults. They have different YouTube videos, recordings that you can listen to and participate in.
And is
So
there any website?
yes, you have the website, right?
It's jeevanvidya.us or
Okay.
jeevanvidyacenter.org. Both of them take you to the same location.
Okay.
And like Gautam mentioned, there's a wealth of resources on that website. So I'd highly encourage anyone to go and take a look at it.
Okay, excellent. And we can always provide all of these details in the description as well as all the strategies we can summarize in the description for everybody. Okay, so I think this was a very, very useful session. I just want to ask one thing before we end. So for each one of you can share one key learning that you want our audience to take away from this session. So starting with Soham. Soham, what would you like to share with our audience?
I'd just like to say, if you want to accomplish something, you should focus on one area. You should develop your passion. You should stay focused, and you should have a goal.
Okay, excellent. Gargi?
I think gratitude is really important in any area of life, even if it's a competition or even in general, because it helps you focus on how much you already have,
Mhm.
and you enjoy every moment when you are in a state of gratitude or when you have an attitude of gratitude. So even it may seem like a stressful situation to the world, but you enjoy it because you're focused on how much you actually have in that situation. I think it's a very important practice, gratitude. I would encourage everyone to practice gratitude.
Definitely. Okay, thank you. And how about you, Mandar?
So I agree with whatever Gargi and Soham said. I will just go back to the aspect of working hard. Ultimately, sacrifice is essential. It happens one way or the other. Either you sacrifice to get the things that you really want, or the things that you really want end up getting sacrificed because you're not willing to put in the time and effort. So I would highly encourage anyone who is looking at achieving any goal in life, not just spelling, to continue to work hard at whatever goal they are going after. Work smart, of course, work hard, and continue to believe in yourself. And ultimately, if you keep working at it and you're passionate about it, success is going to be yours.
Right. Okay, excellent. Thank you for joining and thank you for sharing your experiences. I think this was a very helpful session because we not only got to know the efforts you all did for this competition, but also the strategies that you followed. So this was very insightful. Thank you for joining.